Hey everybody, this is Erica from In the Company of Cards. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Uh, I just wanted to say a little housekeeping, a few housekeeping things. Um, Thank you for all the comments. I read them all. I had one comment that said they didn't want to hear me talk about the royal family. They didn't care about that. And so, um, could I please not discuss that? What? I mean, okay, as a couple of viewers pointed out to that person, this is my channel and I talk about what occurs to me to talk about. You are an absolutely free agent. You can keep scrolling or unsubscribe. It's okay. It's all right. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. On the subject of commercials, commercials are what help me uh, continue to do this work. So there are two hacks that you can exercise when it comes to being annoyed by commercials. One would be to get the YouTube Premium where you don't pay for commercials. I do that because I find commercials annoying as well. The other thing is that as you start to watch, once you've watched the first few seconds of a commercial, you can hit the skip button and then the commercial is over. So, uh, you know, there are options available to you. Okay. So let's look at just a few questions. It's Friday. I know we all have things to do, but there are a few things I thought I would look at. We know that the grand jury has declined to indict Letitia James, which is what, of course, the felon has tasked the DOJ with doing. We also know that they tried a second time, and the grand jury said, "No, thank you. We're not interested." So the felon is going to try a third time. Now, the thing is, that's first of all, it's not a good look for the felon and the DOJ because, a third bite at this apple makes it very clear that Letitia James's argument and Jim Comey's argument, for that matter, that this is what they're calling malicious prosecution, is accurate. So I know they're going to try for a third time, maybe not so much with Comey, but certainly with the black woman, Letitia James, because, we all know that we're his favorite people. Will the felon succeed in getting a grand jury to indict Letitia James? I'm going to let Spirit take the wheel and, pull all the cards. We are using the Mary Bell Lenormand again. This is the sort of seasonally appropriate Lenormand that I'm mostly using this month. Okay. So, will the felon get a grand jury to indict Letitia James? This will be his third try at it. Okay. So we have the son. He's hopeful that he can find somebody to do it. This is our last card, the rider. He's really hoping that he can do it. But the sun, sadly for him, is followed by the clouds. It is doubtful that he will find a grand jury who will indict because it looks like he's a bully. I can mirror this fourth card, the bear, with the clouds. In the center, we have a card that looks like it's the woman, but it's not. It's the whip. I don't love this card because the whip should really be prominent. There should not be that woman there. But anyway, that was the deck creator's decision. The whip. The whip, remember, is the card for repetition, right? A whip. You don't just get one lash, it's repetitive. So it looks, because it's so repetitive with a third try, like it's a bullying move. And so I do not think that he will find a grand jury that will agree to prosecute her or to indict her. I don't think it's going to happen. He can try to pay people, he can try to bribe people, he can try to do. I don't think it's going to work because purely because the third time you're going to try this. I mean, that's like a kid who asks you, can they do something? And you tell them no. And then you tell them no again. And then they come at you a third time, like, oh, all of a sudden, the third time you're going to say, oh, what was I thinking? Yes, of course. Go ahead. Play in traffic. The answer is going to be no. So we'll see. But I think the answer is going to be no. Um, I had a Canadian viewer ask me about Danielle Smith's effort. She is the premier of Alberta, Canada. Um, uh, Calgary. She wants to put a referendum out asking people to vote on a secession of Alberta from Canada. Remember that Danielle Smith is very Trumpy. Why would she secede, or why would she want Alberta to secede? So that I don't know, so that that part of Canada can become part of the U.S. At any rate, a judgment was rendered. First, the judgment. The judgment was that they can go ahead and have that referendum. They can go ahead and put on the ballot the question, should Alberta secede from the rest of Canada? However, there was a judge who said, ultimately, the question is a question of even having the referendum, he called undemocratic. Nevertheless, she still is allowed to do this. Now, the bigger question, of course, is the fact that, one of the things that makes it undemocratic is that they have agreements with their native population, which is quite large in that part of Canada, to not secede. Like, what are you talking about, secession? You can't do that. It would go against the treaties that they have with the First Nations people, that part of the world, but that part of Canada. Um, but, you know, treaties with First Nations peoples have been broken before. Am I right? Both in Canada and God knows here to the south of Canada in the US. So I guess the question that the viewer really wanted was to know whether Danielle Smith would be, and her proposal, her referendum, would be rejected or whether it would go forward. So I think we're going to use the scythe, which is that cutting instrument, and that will stand for the separation of um, Calgary from the rest of Canada and whether that's something that will go forward. So I'm going to use the scythe as my significator. Okay. All right. So we're looking for the scythe. Will Calgary, Alberta, Canada, western part, will they will they agree to secession in a referendum? Looking for the scythe. Okay, here we have an elf holding a scythe. Again, as a kind of a purist, I don't love the elf there, but I get it, 'tis the season, but pay attention to the scythe. So this will be the cutting off of that portion of Canada from the rest of Canada, um, thanks to a referendum to do that. So that's that. Okay. So we have child, we have mice, we have the scythe in the center, we have the key, and we have the star. And I pulled clarifiers on the last three cards on the star, the key, and the scythe. Okay. So the first thing I want to say is that choosing to secede would be, her intention is to make that part of Canada like a vassal of the US, like the 51st state, meaning it would diminish Canada and it would infantilize that portion of Canada if that were to happen. Now we have the scythe in the center, we have the key and the star. She thinks it would be a terrific thing. Oh my gosh, to have the power and might behind us as the 51st state. This would be great for our future. That's what she thinks. So I pulled clarifiers on the site. Oops. Again, she thinks it would be a lucky move, a smart move, but clouds follow it. That is doubtful. The First Nations people aren't going to go for it. And if they don't go for it, it's not going to happen. And here she is, with her begging bowl. Please, please, please vote for this. Now, we have the key there. She thinks it would solve all their problems to be a vassal state of the US by having seceded from Canada. Here she, oh, this would be great, the sun. But, the whole idea of it is just aggressive and heavy-handed and bullying and blocked. It will be blocked. So I think that referendum will not go anywhere. Further, I pulled cards on the star, which is kind of like the future. And here again, we have Danielle Smith as the woman being sunk, that anchor being, she thinks it would be a move that would create safety for that part of Canada. No, she's going to get sunk and she's going to get sunken by a bunch of people, by people who vote no on that referendum. The Birds is about talk, it's about gossip, but she will go down, be sunk by all of these people who say, what is she talking about? Is she crazy? That's not democratic. It's not patriotic. It's like, what? We're not doing that. So I think that it will not, she has been allowed to proceed with plans to hold the referendum. But I think that if there is a referendum on the ballot on this question, it will fail. That's what I think. Okay. Um, Two more questions, one domestic and one international. So I guess let's see, I'll look at the international one first. So we know that Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel is on trial for corruption. And he's done something really odd. He has, in advance of any conviction, and in the face of having denied all the charges against him. So, despite those two things, right, the trial is ongoing, A, and B, he hasn't been convicted of anything, and he denies the charges. He has asked Israeli President Isaac Herzog to um, pardon him. Like, wait, what? Like, why would you ask for a pardon before you were convicted? Now, I also heard, and I don't know if it was a dream I had or was it somebody in my ear, YouTube in my ear before I went to sleep, that um, that there would be a deal where he would be pardoned as long as he agreed to step down from his position. Let's look and see what will be Netanyahu's fate. I'll use the man card, whichever man comes up first. That will be Netanyahu. And what will his fate be? I know that he has asked the felon to intercede on his behalf. The felon, in fact, has interceded on his behalf with the president of Israel and said, you know, hey, pardon him or stop the trial or, you know, don't do this, whatever. We also know, I mean, I've heard people say that the United States is a vassal state of Israel. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. But that doesn't mean that a vassal state is in a position to make demands of the president of Israel. It would more likely be the other way around, right? But anyway, let's just see what will be Netanyahu's fate. So whichever man pops up first, because I put both men in the deck, both women in the deck, whatever man pops up first, that will be Netanyahu. Here he is. Oh. Well, to me, this would be a committee, a jury, whatever, who say to him something like, okay, we'll do this for you, but then you have to do something for us. Because the child, again, it's sort of, um, he loses power. Children are not powerful. Um, we have Netanyahu in the center, and we have the mountain followed by the dog. I'm going to pull, yeah. So I pulled clarifiers on this mountain. And the cards are the cross. Again, we get the child card, the other child card, because there's two in this deck, and I kept them both in. And the fox. Mm. I think that Israel will want Netanyahu to pay a price, which would be these two cards. But I think he's being smart to ask for a pardon because nobody's going to give you a pardon for no reason. It's very smart. So what would he agree to in order to get this pardon? The last card is the dog. The dog is the card for loyalty, don't forget. And we have the garden, clover, and fish. I think money will exchange hands, and I think that Netanyahu could get the pardon in return for stepping down from power, which by that time he'll probably be willing to do. Of course, the felon doesn't want him stepping down from power, but remember, Netanyahu, the felon, and Putin are all very soon going to be sitting down to dinner probably enjoying barbecue in the flames of hell. They all are bound for a bad end. So I think it could happen, yes, that he gets the pardon, but in return for stepping down from power, because why would he get a pardon for nothing? Um, I wasn't going to look at this, but speaking of pardons, I mean, it made me think of um, Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell is getting a little bit antsy, a little bit anxious, a little bit worried, probably worried about the felon and his mental capacity and his memory. And I think she wants out of jail. So she has been a little bit loud of late about wanting to be let out. Let's just look and see. We will use the first woman card that pops up because there are two in the deck. Will Ghislaine be freed? Will she be pardoned? We know that the Supreme Court has refused to hear her case. We know that she won't testify in front of Congress. She's already said that she won't. So I'm not exactly oh, I guess the grounds for her being freed are the fact that the felon said that the whole Epstein thing is a hoax. That's her grounds. So if the whole thing is a hoax, why is she in jail over a hoax? I mean, it's a Hail Mary on her part. It doesn't really feel very substantial, her claim. But let's just take a look. We haven't looked at her in a minute. Will she be freed? Okay, so this is her. There's one card before her, which is the book. It's interesting. So we have the book, we have Maxwell. I wanted her to be in the middle, but she didn't come in the middle. She was the second card, which means that the card that's in the center is particularly of interest to us, right? Because it will be central to the answer. And it's the tree. And then we have the birds and we have the lily. Um, you know, her argument, her private argument, her public argument is that, well, the felon says this is all a hoax. So why am I in jail? That's her public argument. Her private argument, and remember, this is about things that are hidden, things that we're not privy to, is the fact that she knows stuff and she could spill beans that the felon does not want spilled. So to keep her happy and content, to allow her to live out her advanced years in peace without her being a problem, maybe a pardon the felon and the administration will think would be a good thing. Now, here she is, and this is the stuff she knows. Remember, this is the card for gossip, and she knows lots of secrets. I think she could be pardoned, but that it will be on the grounds of health. That's what they'll say. They're not going to say, well, she's being pardoned because, we don't want her to spill more beans. No, it'll be about health. It'll be like some sort of compassionate uh, leave situation where that's why she'll be pardoned. But let me pull on this trade, see. Yeah, interesting. So when I pull on the tree, which is here, health, we have the snake, the star, and the heart. Star can be a card for Cancer. I'm not saying that it is, but it could be. The heart can be the anatomical heart, but there is trouble for her. She is in ill health relative to how she was when she went into jail. So she can legitimately argue that, and that can be the grounds that they decide to use. Let me look at the lily. This is the card for just peace, ease, also for old age. But I mean, I think there are people who are afraid of her. The mice is fear. People in the government, that's the tower, are afraid of her, and that they are willing to make some sort of commitment. We'll do this for you if you do this for us. I can mirror the ring with the book. So in return, her part of the promise is, I will keep things quiet. Uh, I think she was on some rocky ground for a while, but at this point, despite what a lot of people in the Democratic Congress are saying, I think she could get a pardon. And I think it'll be on the grounds, it's a lie, but on the grounds of ill health. She better hope that the felon doesn't forget who she is, which he's already said. Ghislaine, who? But his health's getting worse and worse by the minute. So there could come a time when he says Ghislaine who and really mean it. And in which case, to whom does she plead her case? All right. Um, but anyway, there was one more thing I wanted to look at, which is okay. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear the felon's argument on birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship is exactly what it sounds like. No matter where your parents come from, if you were born, came into the world, left your mother's uterus in the United States, you get what they call birthright citizenship. Uh, Notwithstanding the foreign citizenship of your parents. Now, it's always been that way. We've always had birthright citizenship. But the felon, of course, racist bigot that he is, entertainment purposes only, wants to get rid of it. And the Supreme Court has heard has listened to arguments on issues around this and seemed to be uh, sympathetic to the felon's position. So, what will they decide? We're going to use the birds, I think, for felon. I'm just shuffling a little bit. Um, they will probably not decide the case until summer before they go on their several months long break. Usually they come down with these big decisions in the 1st of July, and then they go on break till the beginning of October. But what will the Supreme Court decide about birthright citizenship? I'm going to use the birds for the court. That has been my card for the Supreme Court, since they are a group of people who get together and decide stuff, talk about stuff. Okay, so we're looking for the birds. What will their decision be on birthright citizenship? Okay, so here's the birds. Oh, this is not the birds. This is the well, yeah, that's not the birds. That's the cover card for the card. Okay. Birds. Now, there's only one card There's only one card left in my hand, which means that the Supreme Court birds will not be um, in the center, right? So I have to put three cards in front of them, and then I have the fifth card in my left hand that goes here. Okay. So we have the bear, we have the fox, the snake is in the center. Here's the Supreme Court, and here's the bouquet at the end. And I hate to say it, but it looks like on the issue of birthright citizenship, if he's still around in the summer, which he may not be, the narcissist in chief takes the win. Especially when I see the snake in the center. I don't love that for our side. So again, assuming that the felon is not pushing up daisies and dining on barbecue in hell by the summer, assuming that the Supreme Court rules on this case in and gives us the ruling in July, I think the felon could win. Remember that the majority of the court is his. So, however the three good ones vote, there's still the rest of them. So it would be a 9-3 decision, I suspect. And I don't like any of these cards here. This is him, the felon. I mean, yeah, the felon, narcissist in chief. This is all sneaky stuff. Project 2025 would love us to get rid of birthright citizenship. To have the snake in the middle, this is trouble. This is a problem. Then we have the Supreme Court, and then we have the win, the bouquet, and I can mirror the bouquet with the felon. So again, remember that cards are a snapshot in time, that energy is mutable, that things can change, and that people have free will. I had one viewer yesterday who said, I'm sick of this. You said he was going to die here, and then you said he was going to die there. I'm tired of waiting, so I'm out. And I was like, okay. I'm not really in the death predicting business. I don't think he's long for this land, but point is, the Supreme Court has agreed to take up the case. The point is that even if the felon is no longer in the land of the living, he will be succeeded by, the couch man, Vance. And that Vance is the instrument, we'll say, of Project 2025. So, do all the work you can in all the ways that you can to lobby for birthright citizenship to be maintained, because I definitely think it's in some danger. That's not a cheery note to end on in this holiday season, and I apologize for that. I hoped to see something different. And I've told you many times, my opinion is not necessarily the same thing as what the cards will show, obviously, right? That's why we are here. That's why we do cards, to see what the universe has to say, what the energies look like. And remember that, again, energies can be shifted and moved. So forewarned is forearmed. It's good to know that citizenship, birthright citizenship is on the chopping block, and because that means that we can be loud about it and hopefully change the outcome. All right, everybody, I will see you over the weekend at some point, and have a great Friday night. Take care.